Welcome to the weather forecast on CIA TV channel. Dear friends, in today's forecast, we're going to break down what you need to know about the weather that will affect the United States over the next 7 days. A strong cold front is moving into the United States this week, and it could bring the coldest temperatures of the season so far. And this will bring record cold temperatures to much of the United States. Severe weather is about to return with strong winds, hail, and maybe even a few tornadoes over the next few days. And finally, the tropics are warming up very quickly. We now have a much higher chance of the next storm forming in the main development area over the next few days. And we'll start with what's happening across the country today. And right now, most of the lower 48 states are actually pretty quiet. There are just a few scattered showers from a remnant low-pressure system that's currently in the northeast. And then back in the Great Plains, things are pretty quiet as well. However, I think we're going to start seeing some isolated severe weather events over the next few days, including areas like Kansas and Oklahoma. So let's start with the middle-level winds in our jet stream. Right now, our middle and upper-level winds are coming out of the northwest, which basically means that cold air is building up right now over Canada, and these very strong winds aloft are going to push all that cold air into the United States over the next few days. And we're seeing a little bit cooler temperatures across the eastern two-thirds of the United States. In fact, these temperature anomalies are 10 to 20 degrees Celsius below normal temperatures that would be expected for early September. And we're starting to see some warmer air starting to come in from Canada into the northern United States today. And you can see temperatures continue to rise across the west, with temperatures in the inland mountains of the west reaching the 90s. While that's happening, we've even got a chance for severe weather tomorrow in localized areas in parts of Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. While this isn't exactly conducive to severe weather with the mid-level and upper-level winds, I think we'll see the potential for hail, wind, and even a few tornadoes. We're seeing some showers and storm activity starting to pick up on that front. That could include the severe weather threat that we'll discuss in a moment. But this strong front is going to move south all the way into North Texas, South Arkansas, West Tennessee, and all the way down here across the Ohio River on Thursday. As we head into late Thursday, this low-pressure system will intensify and grow in size across the Midwest and also back into the Great Lakes region. And that will contribute to the colder weather that will move into the northern plains, the Midwest, and the Ohio Valley. While all of this is going on, we have high pressure to the southwest, and that will keep things relatively warm. If you head back to the Gulf Coast, as well as along the West Coast, unfortunately, we won't really see any cold air. As we head into Friday and Saturday, we'll see a strong low-pressure system return just north of the Great Lakes. A strengthening cold front will come in right after that, and then that's going to bring in a double high-pressure area. And this is the Canadian high. A lot of fresh cool air, lower humidity, and most importantly, drier air. And that will lead to more sunshine across the north-central United States. This will bring another cold front behind it, so we'll likely have two different cold fronts in the Midwest. I think the second one, which will be around Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, will be the stronger of the two. And then eventually, as we get into early next week, that cold front will finally move out. And there are also some indications that the remnants of the storm that's brewing in the eastern Pacific will move into the central and southern plains later in the week and early next week. And depending on the strength of that front, it could bring some severe weather to the central and southern plains, possibly even through the Ohio Valley. And that could bring wind chills down into the 20s and 30s. We could even see some areas with sub-freezing temperatures Friday night and early Saturday morning. By the end of the week and early next week, that cold air will move out. It will actually move into the northeast as we head into early next week. And then finally, by the middle and late next week, things are a little more uncertain. but there are signs that we could see another cold front across the Great Lakes. And over the next few days, we'll have a look at what this winter will look like. In terms of how cold it will be and how much snow it will actually get. Note that most of Texas will be in the 90s, and that will also be back in the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. We're talking about the 70s and 80s today. Tomorrow, that cold weather will start to creep into Canada. We're going to start seeing temperatures in the 40s and 50s in the far north of Minnesota and North Dakota. But really, the big story is what's going to happen on Thursday and through Saturday. These are the temperatures that we're going to be experiencing on Thursday. There will be spots that are below freezing, including northern Wisconsin, probably as far south as Wausau. Also near Duff in Minnesota. We're talking about temperatures that are very close to, if not below freezing, on Thursday. Temperatures will also continue to drop further south, even into central Iowa. We'll get down into the low to mid-40s on Friday. We're talking about low 40s again. So we're not really expecting freezing temperatures on Friday, but once the cold front strengthens on Saturday, we'll start to see a few more areas that are close to freezing, especially if you go back into North Dakota and back into central Iowa. I'm predicting we'll get at least some frost warnings. Maybe even some freeze warnings, over the next 48 hours on Thursday or even Saturday. Finally, as we get into next week, things will start to improve and we'll see much warmer weather again. Especially in parts of Texas and Oklahoma. And what's really crazy is that after this week, we'll continue to see this cold front continue into next week. So, as of September 7th through September 11th, the Climate Prediction Center is forecasting a higher chance of below-average temperatures from Texas all the way up to the Northeast, with the highest probability occurring mostly across the Great Lakes and even New England. So, definitely prepare for this colder weather. It's not really going away anytime soon. Unfortunately, if you're along the Gulf Coast or even in Florida, we really don't expect any cold fronts to make their way down there. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a slight severe weather threat for parts of Kansas. A marginal threat is also present across Missouri and back into northern Oklahoma. The reason we're talking about this is because there's a chance of a few severe storms moving through in the mid to late afternoon that could produce very large hail, baseball-sized hail, damaging winds, and even a possible isolated tornado. The chances of severe weather are very low, but I think at least some showers and storms are likely across Michigan and will also move back into northern Missouri on Wednesday. Thursday is when that low-pressure system continues to move north over the Great Lakes. And by Friday and Saturday, we'll see much calmer and also drier weather across the Midwest and the Great Lakes region. This is something we need to keep an eye on right now. We have a small storm that's going to be forming in the Pacific Ocean over the next couple of days. This storm has the potential to become at least a Category 1 by Friday. It's going to make landfall in Baja California, and the remnants and all the moisture that's left will move right into Texas, Oklahoma and Kansas on Sunday. This could lead to the potential for heavy rains and flooding. But the other thing I want to keep an eye on is if we have a low-pressure system that's still active. In fact, we could see some severe weather potential on Sunday and Monday, mostly in this region. I don't see anything too significant right now in terms of severe weather. But if we get a more organized low-pressure system by the time it moves into the lower 48 states, there will definitely be some issues, and we could even see a more significant threat of severe weather. But right now, it's looking pretty chaotic. Just a lot of rain early next week. And then it'll eventually move into the Ohio Valley and eventually into the Northeast by the middle of next week. And then after Wednesday and Thursday next week, things will become more uncertain. But it looks like we'll have drier conditions again in the Ohio Valley and across the East Coast, with the exception of Florida, by the end of next week. And finally, the tropics are warming up very quickly. We now have a much higher chance of the next hurricane forming in the main development area over the next few days, which is currently west of Cabo Verde. There is a chance that this area will become a hurricane and the hurricane risk is increasing. But all eyes are on what's going on here, because there is an increasing chance that this storm will become a hurricane and then there is a chance that it will impact the mainland. Now, the Eastern Caribbean, as I mentioned, the chances of rain overall are not that high, but the thing is, some of us will get some storms like we had in parts of Trinidad and Tobago yesterday. So that doesn't mean we won't get some storms. The chances of rain are not 0%, and keep in mind, some of those storms could cause flooding in some areas. And we've seen that in the Bahamas, Cuba. Look at how strong it is. Haiti, the Dominican Republic, even watching Jamaica today, the Cayman Islands for rain and storm potential. And then we're going to come here. Look at this. This is Hurricane Lena. Lena is going to be very close to Cabo San Lucas with a lot of rain. Then it's going to move into Mexico, west of Mexico towards Baja, and then it's going to be tracking flooding in Arizona, New Mexico and Texas. I'm going to zoom in to see the total rainfall in this video. And this is Kiko. This storm is likely going to be very close to Hawaii as we head into next week. Okay, let's get into this. Back in the Atlantic, we're in the Caribbean. This is where we're looking. The high pressure is acting as a barrier. This is like the Bermuda High that you hear about. It's not always over Bermuda. This is Bermuda. So, if it's farther east, if it's extremely strong and stronger here, that would allow this area to move more towards the Caribbean. But the European model is saying that this area, it's going to end up being a tropical storm rather than Hurricane Gabrielle, closer to the Caribbean. You see, this is on Saturday. And I expect this to change. We're going to have a lot of changes over the next few days, but I'll give you a heads up and I'll tell you everything I'm seeing. High pressure to the north. This is Bermuda. We're in the Caribbean and watching this spot. By Saturday, it's going to become a tropical storm. The next name on the list is Gabrielle. Then as we go out over time here, the European model is saying, hey, this environment doesn't show a big front sweeping and that's going to help pull it north. It says there's going to be a general area of high pressure to the north. Somewhere north, that's going to allow the storm to move toward the Caribbean. So the northward movement doesn't feel as tugged anymore. So next week, which is Monday, it's going to become a hurricane. So we're going to be watching for more rain in the southeastern Caribbean. There's still some rain. Watch the Florida Keys, South Florida for more rain. And then as we get into the timing here, the same thing as we get into Friday, South Nicaragua. Watching for rain and still some showers here, St. Lucia, Barbados, that could happen. And there's rain that could cause flooding in parts of Central America. Now, look at this. This is Hurricane Lena. The center of this storm is just offshore. There's a very high risk of flooding. Kiko is right there. Lena is active and then you'll see rain in northwest Mexico, south, really southeastern parts of Arizona, New Mexico and West Texas, just to give you a heads up. This is going to work with high flood potential moving through northwest Mexico into parts of the southwest United States. And then I'll give you another look at this in just a second. Stay with me. Rain is moving toward parts of Oklahoma in North Texas. And then you'll see here. This is Hawaii. This is Kiko as we go further into the middle of next week. We'll see how close this storm gets to Hawaii. It'll probably get closer by the middle of next week. We'll also have to see if it continues. But just a note here, as well as watching Hawaii. There's a lot going on both on the Atlantic side of the basin and the Pacific side. Now, in terms of rainfall, Lena is tracking Baja, northwest Mexico. Landslides are possible depending on your terrain and some dangerous rivers will occur. Right now, the storm's winds are mostly still over water. Eventually, as this storm moves in, there will be some weakening, but the rain itself looks like a significant threat further inland as it curves and the remnants eventually move into parts of Texas. We will continuously update the storm situation in the next news. Please subscribe to the channel to follow. Thank you for watching the news on CIA TV channel.